Welcome to Solutions with Courtney Anderson. I'm Courtney Anderson, and this is episode 239 of this program. So thank you for being here. Today in episode 239, we have a show that's part of our Joyful Art of Business series. Our Joyful Art of Business series is all about you and I ensuring that we ask ourselves, how do I feel? How do I feel about my work? If I feel pretty good, more often than not, good sign. If I feel awful, if I dread what I'm doing, if my stomach hurts, I have headaches, I have sleep disorders, I'm just stressed out all the time, then it tells me that I need to make some changes in the future. And no matter what anybody else thinks, whether or not I have a quote good job, or I make quote good money, or I'm so quote fortunate, no matter what anybody else thinks, I've got to be aware that the consequences of ignoring how I feel are very serious, very serious. So it's a very proactive series, and it's of course based on one of our fundamental principles of everything that I do, which is practicing the joyful art of business, right? Whatever we do, we're going to ask ourselves, do a 360 holistic evaluation and review of my return on my investment or my ROI of my time, talent, and toil, and say, how do I feel? If I feel not awesome the majority of the time, then I need to start making plans to potentially do something else in the future because it's not working for me. All right, so today in this series for episode 239 of this program, we have an intriguing show topic. Our specific show topic today is grit, hustle, tenacity. Necessary? Again, our show topic today, 4 words. It is grit, hustle, tenacity. Necessary? There we go. That's our show topic. And so we're asking, with these 4 words, we're giving 3 statements to a certain extent: grit, hustle, tenacity. And then our 4th word has a question mark behind it. Necessary? So we're asking, are these things necessary? The first thing that would require is us assessing, what are these things? What are these things? Grit, hustle, tenacity. What is that? What are they? What does this mean? What are we talking about? And one of the things that came to my mind as I was working through the show notes in preparation for the program, I had a discussion with somebody, it's probably like 8 or 9 years ago. So it was somebody I had known for a while, that I'd known since I was younger, in my 20s. Maybe even in my late teens. And so a couple, like I said, 7 or 8 years ago, we're having a discussion, and for the context, so they've known me since before I finished undergraduate school. Obviously then before I'd done anything else, right? Then way before all the other academic things I did, and before I started my law office and all this other activity that then led through consulting and speaking and teaching and to today. Okay, so this is before all of that. They knew me before that. So they knew me before that, and then we were talking about 7 or 8 years ago. So 7 or 8 years ago, then I have done all this other stuff. I've finished many different academic programs, and I'm different licensing, and I've done speaking, and then I had moved into doing television shows, and so they'd seen me over a period of time. And the really interesting thing was, in this discussion, we were talking about the word hustle. Now, I've been a long time in my personal life proponent that your stick-to-itness and your desire and action to get it done matters. Like, I've just personally believed in this for as long as I can remember. So I was having a discussion with this person, and I think I said something along the lines of, I'm a hustler. That's what I do. I hustle. I get it done. And the person said something like, "Oh goodness, no, I don't use that word. It's, oh gosh, no, really." Something along the lines. This is memory, but basically they took issue, and they were making a couple of points. One, the word hustle. It has now. Language is very specific. So there is, when you go in the dictionary, there have been uses of the term hustle, and somebody who hustles or has hustle or is a hustler, right? One who hustles. I'm a hustler. There's certainly in the past and current utilizations of the words that are not positive, that are related to people who engage in criminal activities or things of that nature. Okay. And so that's part of it. That's part of the discussion. And the other part of it was, hey, even assume, like, let's say there was a semantics aside, maybe if I use a different word, right? Maybe a word like tenacity. I think the point was, to what end? So somebody does this. So they stick with it. They make it happen. They're relentless. So what? And it was interesting because, again, this is somebody who had known me before I'd gotten really much. I mean, I'd finished high school, but I hadn't done much else in life in terms of, the goals, partially because of my age at the time when I, first started to know this person. So later on down the road, I think that part of it was philosophical. The argument was sort of like, really? Is it necessary? And that's kind of the two-pronged approach to the show today. One is to define these things and to have some assessment of whether or not these words are actually appropriate. And the other thing would be, is it really necessary? Is it? Now, obviously, we're talking about our Joyful Art of Business series. We're talking about surpassing our goals, which is something that we discuss in every one of our topics. And sort of that sort of general idea of what people sometimes use the word success, right? As you surpass your goals, you got it done. Is it necessary to have this grit, hustle, and tenacity? Or is that just sort of a fantasy? Or misguided people, maybe even like myself. I said as a layperson. So I said before I studied any of this or went to school or had even opened, businesses or any of that, I just had an idea already, like in my mind. Who knows where it came from? It matters if you stick to stuff, if you stick with it. That could be wildly inaccurate and unnecessary. So let's go look. A couple of things I did on the show page, and of course, go to CourtneyAnderson.com. That's our central repository, our main website. When you go there, you're going to see the opportunity for all of our different series. So there's a drop-down menu for under talk show, and where you'll see all of our different series, and then you can put your mouse there, and it'll show you all the different shows in each episode. Or you can just go to the one talk show page, and it literally lists all of the television shows or the video podcasts and these radio shows or our audio podcasts. So everything is there. So hundreds and hundreds of pages, and then we have the microsite, of course, for every one of the shows. So CourtneyAnderson.com, and then there'll be the / the rest of the URL, and the URL is embedded within the notes for the file wherever you found this program. And of course, you can just go to CourtneyAnderson.com and just put that in there. Episode 239 or the title or whatever you want, and boom, it'll pop up. Okay. When you get there, you're going to see sort of 14 highlights. I've got 14 points that I make notes of on the show pages, and I call those, because there are 14 of them, to comprise the one solution set. I call that a stone, right? A solution. So it's a unit of measurement, right? Okay, so one of the things is I went to the dictionary, and I do this in many of our programs because we want to make sure we're not being inaccurate. Like, what does the dictionary say? Because who knows? I mean, that happens to me from time to time. I'll think I understand what something means, and I'll go look it up, and then I'll think like, oh, that wasn't it. I wasn't using that correctly at all. That's not exactly what that meant. Oops. Okay. Oops, I did it again. All right. So when you go to the CourtneyAnderson.com, episode 239, the show page, you've got the definition for grit, right? So that's the first word in our title. So for my dictionary definition, I've got the link there on the page. The part of the definition that we're using is the part that says mental toughness and courage. Mental toughness and courage. Oh, I like that. Mentally, I'm tough and courage. Grit. Okay. Next word, hustle. The parts of the definition I'm using, and there's several, so when you go to the show page, you'll see I'm using part of the definition that's 2A and 2C. 2A, to obtain by energetic activity. And then it has the example, hustle up new customers. Okay. And then 2C, to sell or promote energetically and aggressively. And then it has another example, hustling a new product. So those are the two types of examples. As I said earlier, there are other dictionary definitions that refer to illicit and or illegal activities. And so that's some of where that discussion was coming from that I'd shared in my personal life from whenever ago in the past. And then our third word is tenacity. So tenacity, the idea here is that someone is tenacious, right? If I have tenacity, then I'm tenacious. And so the definition of tenacious that we're using from the dictionary that I've got linked on the page, it says not easily stopped or pulled apart, firm or strong, continuing for a long time, very determined to do something. So grit, tough, courage, mentally. Hustle, energy. I'm obtaining it, or I'm selling and promoting it energetically and aggressively. And my tenacity, I'm not easily stopped. I'm firm, I'm strong, and I keep going, continuing for a long time. I'm very, very determined to do something. So we can see that they're not exactly synonyms. They don't mean exactly the same thing, but they have similar, and I would argue complementary concepts. So part of that is, okay, now what? Are they necessary? I think part of why, as I shared earlier anecdotally, that I just believed as a kid growing up, that these things matter, right? That grit, that you have to be mentally tough and courageous. I think part of that is, probably genetic. I've had the pleasure of sharing, I've done some shows where I've talked about some of my, relatives that I was lucky enough to know, while they were alive. And I'm sure I'll do other shows about some of them because I think I had some of the most interesting relatives and grandparents, and I'm just getting started. But I know I've done some shows already. One of my grandmothers had a phrase, "You get no more out of life than you demand." And so if you haven't listened to that show, I put the link on the show pages. And then I talked about in that show how she was a business owner, how she was an entrepreneur, how she was a real estate investor, and the examples I learned from her in those areas, in addition as a person. But the mental toughness and courage, yeah, definitely a wonderful real life example. Like I said, I'm just getting started. That's just one grandmother. My other grandmother, I absolutely, and the really neat thing, whenever I do a show on this, I'll hopefully have more ability to go into it. My grandmothers knew each other before, my parents met. So they were both powerful women, and they just both happened to be in a similar part of the country, and so they knew of each other before, their children, which became my parents, were even born. So it's a really kind of a neat story in that way. But they were both equally gritty. They're very tough people, and very much the definition of mental toughness and courage. Also, hustle. You're going to obtain it energetically, right? Or sell and promote it energetically. I'm out there. I'm hustling up new business. As somebody who, we do this self-employment ecstasy series. We talk a lot about financial independence in our financial fierceness series. You have to get stuff done, or not, but my argument is you have to get stuff done. And the idea of understanding how you do that, how you persuade other people. Again, I had some great role models. I also learned as a kid, just in my own individual life, outside of any family experiences I learned as a kid because I moved around a lot. And I mention this in programs because I think it influenced me more than I understood until probably just in the last couple of years as an adult. When you move around all the time as a kid to completely different, countries and totally different places, you gain the skill set early on to understand you got to hustle. Because, if you move somewhere and you know that you're going to be there for like 9 months, then if you don't get in and like from day one hit the ground running, in other words, hi, you meet people, you introduce yourself, you figure out what you're going to do, then it's not going to happen. Because if you're not going to be there long enough to sort of to wait for people to kind of come to you. And like, you got to be more assertive. You got to be more willing to reach out. So even though I'm very, very shy, and I do share this in programs where I think it's relevant or potentially helpful, I'm still incredibly shy. Oh, goodness gracious. I still force myself. And I do mean the word force. Because I know that if I need to get something done, then I got to get up there and go out and energetically make it happen. And I still move. I don't move as much as I did as growing up. I mean, I stay places longer than, a few months now. But I still move relatively more probably than a lot of people based on the statistics I've seen. And I'm used to it. I'm in a totally new place. I've never been here before, or maybe I've been here visiting, but I've never lived here. I don't know really anybody. That means I got to go meet people. All types of stuff. I got to figure stuff out, and I got to ask for help, because if I sit around waiting, it'll never get done. And if you don't know anybody, if you go somewhere and it's like you don't know anybody, then unless you're going to get out there and be enthusiastic and energetic and try to get stuff done, you're going to be waiting, forever. If you think people are going to come to you, and making, new friendships and new people that you socialize with as an adult, in a lot of ways, it's much harder than it is as a kid. Because as a kid, like, it's built into the system, right? You're at this place, your school for a long period of time, and the socializing part is built into that. Or at least the option is. When you're an adult, you don't have that necessarily, especially when you're not going to a traditional office, where there's a built-in socializing component, with your coworkers. So, yeah, hustle. And some of it's cultural, but certainly in a situation where you have more open markets and elements of entrepreneurship, whether it's actually independent entrepreneurship of somebody starting their own entity, or an entrepreneurship expectation within big organizations. And that's what you have in a lot of parts of the country, and in a lot of parts of the world. It'll be a big organization. So people say, hey, I work for this big organization you've heard of. It's a big global organization, multinational. But within that, there's so many different divisions, and there's so much desire for, new innovations and growth and marketing, novelty, that even though you work somewhere as an employee, you better be innovating, and you better be able to promote it, and to, get buy-in, and to obtain, support and persuade other people. Like, all those skills, you're going to need them, whether you work at a place that has 100,000 employees or 2 million employees or 10 employees or just one. You're going to need to be able to persuade other people to get stuff done. And you're going to need that even if you're in a government, and or nonprofit. You still have to get stuff done, and you need people even to at least know you exist. That's part of this, right? So you're energetic, and like I said, for someone who's shy, I literally force myself to introduce yourself. Hi, I'm so-and-so. It's nice to meet you. Like, you have to do this, is my argument. Whether or not you actually have to is something that we're studying, right? And then this other idea of tenacity, it's where you don't quit. You don't. And some cultures, they have the saying that you're going to either do it or, you're going to die trying, right? Which is not meant to that you're literally going to die. Necessarily what they mean is you will figure this out, or you will achieve this, or it will happen, or else you're going to die while trying to get it done. But you're not going to quit, right? You're just continuing for a long time. Long is relative, right? Depends on what it is and your age and your life experience or whatever. But the point is, like, you will stick to this until it works. And another conversation I had in my personal life a few years ago, it was more recently, probably like in the last, I think, 3 years. And it was a compliment, actually. I was talking to somebody who had only met me like just a few, whatever, months recently, relatively speaking. So they didn't know me when I was, 18 or whatever. But even for somebody who just met me recently, relatively speaking, they said something like I don't think there's anything that you want to accomplish that you're not going to accomplish, or something like there's something like, I have no doubt that if you want it, you're going to figure it out and it's going to happen. Like, you're not the kind of person who quits. And it was meant as a compliment. And even though, like I said, I'm much more mellow now than I was when I was young, which makes sense, right? With age, hopefully comes wisdom. Hope with my wisdom, I'm a little more calm and, relaxed. But I can see that probably just sort of on average, um, there's a perception, and maybe some would argue in some ways in a reality, that I do stick to stuff if I'm determined to do something, which is part of our dictionary definition. That I'm gonna stick to that until I either figure it out and do it, or um, get to a conclusion that it's not the right thing to do. But I do, you know, um, I do have this, it's what we talk about. It's why I do these shows. It's why I like them so much, right? I do strategize and I do think about solutions and I do execute. And then I keep constantly refining and rethinking but I'm always on, like, a big path, like a big goal. And then I'm testing out smaller goals along the way. But yeah, I can't, I could do, the thing where we lie to ourselves, and we lie to other people, and we tell, you know, oh, I'm not like that. That's not true. Yeah, it probably is somewhat accurate. And even for somebody who doesn't really know me, just meets me now, I think people can somewhat, depending on how they meet me, but pick up on that, right? Like, um, yeah, I do tend to feel invested in the goal and be a bit tenacious. So, okay, these are good definitions. I'm sharing my own, anecdotal experiences and um, perceptions. What else is out there beyond that? Because that information, it's interesting, but who knows? The question is it necessary? All right, so here's some sources that are on the show page that make the argument that these things are. First of all, I've got an article, and it's from an academic at the University of Pennsylvania. And so it's from an article in NPR, on NPR. So the link's on the show page, and uh, here's a quote. It says, Grit is a better indicator of success than factors such as IQ or family income. Wow. Wow. Grit is a better indicator of success than factors such as IQ or family income. And then there's a quote that says, Grit is living life like it's a marathon, not a sprint. Grit is living life like it's a marathon. Woo, my goodness. Not a sprint. And so there are a couple of things. One, there is a link on the show page to a survey from the researcher that is quoted in this article, in this NPR article, right? And so it's free. It's just it's very short. I took it, and it basically, is helping you ask yourself, got grit, right? Right? In other words, do you possess a sort of average grit, above average grit, below average grit? At least according to this one survey. So it's out of the University of Pennsylvania. The link again is on the show page. Again, it literally took me, like, I don't even know, but like, it couldn't have been, it was less than 5 minutes. It was just a few quick questions. And then it gave you your results. And so the link is there on the show page. So take that. And not really surprising for me, my own little example. I suspected I would probably score relatively high compared to sort of the average or the norm. And yes, I did. And I got a lot of grit. I'm extremely gritty. I'm very gritty. I've taken a lot of these types of assessments over the years, so they've all been pretty consistent with that. The thing that, and obviously it's why, all these programs and all the things that we teach about and we talk about, we, it's I grew up believing that you have to take the initiative, right? That's the hustle thing. You've got to be the one to be energetic and assertive or aggressive. You got to make it happen. I believe that you don't quit. I believe that, you got to be tough and you got to have the courage, even for stuff that scares you. And I'm scared all the time today. I'm scared all the time about all kinds of things. Like I said, I force myself, even though I'm shy, even though I'm horribly uncomfortable in situations. But I know that, hey, look, if you want to get the bigger goals, and also just for my own mental health, I know it's good, especially since I'm shy and introverted. Those don't necessarily always go together. They sometimes do, and for me they do. So I'm introverted and I'm shy, so if I don't force myself to get out there and make new introductions and potentially meet new people, then my work suffers, and worse than that, forget the work thing, but my life suffers. Like I get so much out of fantastic and healthy interactions and relationships with people that come on, I'm so grateful. But I have to be the one, because I know my natural inclination would be to just sit somewhere, quietly, shy. And that's not sufficient for the type of life that I desire and the things that I want to learn and experience. So life is not a marathon. Live life like it's a marathon, not a sprint. I'm not athletic, so for me, okay, I love that. The idea is you strategize, and that's what I was saying. That all the things in this business and all the other things that I do, it's because I already have sort of the predilection to believe a lot of these things, and then I've been doing them for so long, and I've gotten more than I wanted. I've exceeded my own goals, so it continues to help me down this path that, yeah, you got to be courageous. Everybody's scared and frightened of all types of things. That's just being human. What do you do about it? Being courageous is really important. And having this idea of mental toughness, because it's not always easy. And so, like our dictionary said, and like this first source from the academic at the University of Pennsylvania, go take the little survey if you have the time. Why not? The more you learn about this stuff, and you'll see if you go look through, I mentioned on our programs recently that I have joined some social media, so Twitter. I'm at Zealous Business, and what I do from time to time on there is I just go through and, like I said, I know about a ton of these resources for all types of tests that are all free, partially because I teach all of this in our seminars and workshops, of course, that we provide for people in my corporate education programs and my speeches, but also through a lot of the formal programs that I do as a faculty member in my university. These are integrated often into the courses, especially, I teach business. So if you go through the Twitter, and I don't even know the right terms because it's still relatively new and I'm still trying to figure it all out, but you'll see I posted a whole bunch of stuff on there, free quizzes and everything. So go take them. To thine own self be true, and the more you know about yourself, the better it is, right? So yeah, I really do encourage that. All it takes is a few minutes, and the more insight you gain into how those instruments claim that your results are interpreted, and to what other people say. So like I gave an example, I said just a few years ago, I had a conversation with somebody, they were saying, yeah, I have no doubt you're very determined, very very it was meant as a compliment, but even people who just meet me kind of pick up on that. So if the tools and the instruments tell me the same thing, the quizzes, and then I hear that from people, then it may be that maybe there's something there that might be somewhat accurate. That at least that's how I'm perceived, right? So and read the NPR article, and it's a very short piece, but it links to a video, a TED talk, and watch that. Like, there's so much research out there. So we don't have to go replicate what this wonderful academic University of Pennsylvania has done, but we can definitely benefit from, all of their, effort to see how it benefits us. And then by extension, benefits our community of caring and benefits our, businesses and organizations and our clients and customers. And, it's a win-win, right? That's why it's part of the joyful art of business. Okay. We have another source here that's talking about our second term, right? So our topic title was grit, hustle, tenacity. Necessary? So we have this from Fast Company. Fast Company is it's a magazine. This is from the digital version on the website, but I've been reading Fast Company for over a decade. And when I was traveling extensively, when I was doing my heaviest speaking and corporate training and consulting schedule, when I was doing 250, 300 days a year, just I was traveling 5 days a week on planes. I was just, well, actually 6, because I'd usually leave Sunday and I'd fly Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and I'd fly Friday. Saturday is the only day I didn't fly because it was my one day at my home base, and then I'd fly back out Sunday and do it all over again. So when you're flying 6 days a week, you're flying a lot, right? So in addition to the fact that I was elite mileage on multiple airlines and had way more knowledge than probably most people ever need to have of different concourses and different airports around the world and different, all of that, I also read. The number one thing I like to do on the plane is, well, the number two thing, because the number one thing I do is sleep, just to be very honest, is I like to and I need to sleep. And then second to sleeping is reading. I'm not somebody who likes to necessarily watch like video or television. Or I like to sleep. I like to read, and then I like to listen to music. And then my fourth would be that I'll watch a movie, and I almost always reserve that for really long flights. So, your 12 hours, your 15-hour flights. The longest flights I've been on are to Australia and to South Africa, which were, in one case, it was actually literally one flight, although we did land for gas and changing the crew, but that was 16 plus hours. But to Australia, it was multiple flights. Like I changed planes and had a connection, but still, you're still flying for, about almost 20 hours. Or more than that if there's a layover. So when all that happens, then there's a lot of time to watch movies on top of my regular sleep, reading, and listening to music. See, you know more about me than you ever wanted to know. All right, so all that's to say that one of my favorite things I'd read on the plane, Fast Company. What I'll do, and if you ever see me at an airport, then you'll see me doing this. I go to all the little, bookstores and newspaper stores at the airport, and I buy a ton of physical media. Yes, I have digital now. I have smartphone, I have a tablet and all of that, but I still like to touch it. I still like, especially on the plane, I'm going to be on there in my seat for 12 hours or whatever. So yeah, I like a lot of things to touch. And even the best tablets, if you don't have an outlet, I don't have a tablet yet that that makes it 17 hours. So I bring physical media and I still like it. So Fast Company is one of the things I would and still do like to pick up when I'm at my airports. And then of course I read it when I'm not traveling, but that's just sort of how I first fell in love with it. All right. So Fast Company, all that's to say that, hey, I've been a Fast Company fan. There's a digression. All right, the article that we've linked to here, it's entitled "Why Hustling Helps People to Become Insanely Successful." What a coincidence. It fits our show topic. Obviously not a coincidence. Obviously, when I create the show notes, I'm going out and looking for resources that will help illuminate or support the show topics and my analysis. So here we go. From the Fast Company article, the link's on the show page. Why hustling helps people to become insanely successful. So here's some of the content from that article, which is really good. It says, when we uncover the lives of super successful people, there's often such a pattern of hustle, a will to keep exposing yourself to positive chance, until it hits. Cap Watkins, now the design lead at Etsy, launched his career from a fortuitous cup of coffee. Tim Westergren pitched the idea for Pandora more than 300 times before receiving crucial funding. Paul Graham says success can only come from a willingness to schlep. Hustle is hard to deconstruct. It's not something you learn like you would accounting or public speaking. It's more a state of mind that develops or doesn't develop. All right, all that's, again, talking about this concept. And again, we're using those dictionary definitions that we referred to, right? That you obtain something by energetic activity, like hustling up new customers, or you're selling or promoting energetically and aggressively, hustling a new product. And so that's what this article, obviously, it's entitled, Why Hustling Helps People to Become Insanely Successful. And they're giving you examples, right? Pitching this idea for Pandora more than 300 times before receiving crucial funding. You know, if you read something like that and you think that's not that big of a deal, then it tells me that you probably haven't engaged in endeavors like that. More than 300 times is a lot. Just imagine going to 300 of your neighbors and just knocking on their door and trying to sell them something, and all of them saying no. I said neighbors because I'm trying to think of the easiest thing to do. I'm not saying you got to get anywhere and, travel far or, deal with some huge budget. I'm just saying just the act of asking 300 people for something and being rejected, over and over and over and over and over and over. If I could repeat over and over and over again, 300 plus times and not go insane, I would. But you get my point. This is a lot of work, and it is a lot of failure. Most people aren't going to get anywhere near 300 before they get to crucial funding because they're not even going to get to 3. In fact, one of the things it's a theme in a lot of the programs we talk about is how little people are willing to try. We even did a show a while ago when we talked about replace the word try with the word do. Because there are people who use the word try and they literally had done nothing. What they meant was, I'm going to try, which means I've actually done nothing, but I'm just like thinking maybe in the future I might do something. And I was saying replace the word try with the word do so that you make it clear to somebody. If you had said to somebody, hey, I went to 2 different places and I applied, for the sales job and I wasn't hired, then that's different from saying I'm going to try to get a sales job. Because you say you're trying to do it and you've literally done nothing, it means you've done nothing. Saying you've gone to 2 places means you did something. You did it twice. And then we can talk about how many more times. You may have to be like this example of Pandora. You may be out there 300 times or 3,000 times. And that's the difference. That's the difference between the people that you read about in these media pieces, the people that you look at and you say, wow, their life, man, it's interesting. Sounds like they're doing interesting stuff, and my life is, mundane or routine, or I'm bored. Well, because they created that. And they stuck with it through rejection, and again, say that 300 times. And most people won't even touch that. They don't go anywhere near it. Most people get overwhelmed without even doing one request. Most people talk themselves out of even trying the first time. Oh, well, I would if I had more time, but I'm not ready, and other people, they're going to be better than I am, and I don't even want to try out or sign up for that because what if other people, and they don't, so they've literally made all these imaginary issues, and they don't even try. They don't even try the first time. And then there's a smaller set of people who will try the first time a little bit, meaning that they weren't really enthusiastic, but it was like, I went over there and I asked, if they wanted it, and they said no. Oh, come on. There's one thing to say to somebody, like me, I had a stint where I worked at a car dealership. I sold cars. I was a car salesperson. That's a 100% commission job. No car sales, no money. Lots of car sales, money. Now, not all car dealerships are like that, but this is in the States, and this was a while ago, and at that time, that was the model, and that definitely was the model of the dealership where I worked in. So if you go up to say, somebody comes to your car dealership and you say to them, "Hi, are you looking for a new car?" Versus, "Hi, are you looking for a new car?" It's totally different. And the body language and the way that you steer a conversation and the way that you make it really clear, like, I'm going to sell you a car. If you're buying a car, I'm selling it to you. Now, if you're not buying a car, then I'm not selling it to you now, but I'm going to sell it to you in the future, and you can remember who I am, so you're going to also give me referral business. But that's that part of the dictionary definition of the hustle, where it talked about energetic. Remember? It said obtain energetic activity. Obtained by energetic activity. So energetic is, "Hi, are you here to buy a car?" Versus, "Hi, are you here to buy a car?" And I know I've mentioned this in different shows at times, depending on what's in my mind that's happening in my boring regular life. Everybody's life is boring in their regular life because boring is awesome, because boring means there's stability. But I'm often calling, like anybody else is, to a utility or some just regular thing we all have to do. And you get somebody on the call and they're like, "Hi, thank you for calling City Utility Department. How may I help you?" Versus somebody who's like, "Hi, thank you for calling the City Utility Department. How may I help you?" It's literally the same words, but energetic means something. And there's a whole bunch of science and data behind all of this. How your tone, if you're in a physical space with somebody, your eye contact, your body language, your posture, how your energy and enthusiasm impacts other people and what it does in terms of the interaction and the outcome. So yeah, that's why hustle, energetic. They keep mentioning that because it matters. And being what the dictionary calls aggressive, and I like to use the word assertive only because aggressive sometimes can sound, overly assertive. But it's the same idea. I'm not sitting around passively. "Hi, you want to buy a car?" I'm like, "Hi, you want to buy a car?" Like, come on. So the article, I think, again, whenever people in your life, and we've done shows on this. We did a show where somebody is asking, you deal with the phrase, "must be nice. Must be nice to have that apartment. Must be nice to have that job. Must be nice. Must be nice to have that motorcycle. Must be nice." One of the things that's the difference between doing something and then obtaining whatever it is you would like, the apartment, the job, the motorcycle, the ability to go out to eat at a nice restaurant or go on, holiday or vacation somewhere, and the people who sit around and say, rather meanly or snidely, "must be nice." A lot of it is just this, the hustle part. Are you going to go to knock on over 300 doors? Are you going to knock on any doors? Are you going to knock on 2 doors and say that people told you no and then you just quit? You're going to get out of it what you put into it. So yeah, if you want extraordinary wealth, extraordinary business success, you got to put in extraordinary work. If you put in no work, that's the most people who do nothing, and I was going to do it, or I'm going to do it in the future, and I'm planning, and I'm thinking, and I'm waiting, and blah, blah, blah. You put in no work, and you get any outcome that's positive, consider yourself, you just got lucky. If you put in a little teeny tiny bit of work, then you should get a commensurate little teeny tiny bit of result. If you want to get extraordinary results, you have got to put in extraordinary effort. And that's the hustle component. That's the part where most people just aren't. And you have to do it while maintaining that energetic quality the whole time. It's much easier the first time you try something, the first door you knock on, to be energetic. "Hi!" The 302nd door, where all the other ones have told you no, and to still be like, "Hi!" That's what makes you extraordinary. And if you add on top of that the issue with tenacity, right? Because many people make the argument, and they say, and we've done shows on this, right, where they say they need somebody to help them or support them or believe in them or mentor them and all this kind of stuff. And I say, if you have that, then that is great. Having somebody who believes in you or mentors you or supports your goals, and that's awesome. Then yay, like, be grateful and appreciative, and that's awesome. And then be that for somebody else, right? That's, be somebody else's mentor, be somebody else's support. Yet there are many people who have no support. They have no mentor. There's nobody that believes in them. In many instances, there are people who not only don't believe in them, but actually tell them that they are an idiot. You know, why are you knocking on 300 doors? You've been told no, 300 times. Are you this stupid? How many times does it take for you to stop? You're an idiot. Only an idiot would keep doing this. And when you read the stories of anybody who's usually notable, there's some version of this, or they tried and they were rejected and they kept going. The difference is most people quit, which brings us to tenacity. So, tenacity, I've got a quote from Entrepreneur, another magazine, one of my other favorites, like Fast Company, that I'd love to read on the planes, that I've been reading a really long time. These are, usually really well done. Inc. is another one. I could sit here, and that's probably another show, but, the list of the stuff I read, right? And so Entrepreneur is another quote, and this, of course, goes to our third of our topics, tenacity. So this is from an article that's called The 7 Traits of Successful Entrepreneurs. Oh, I like that. And again, this is on CourtneyAnderson.com on our show notes for the show. So the 7 Traits of Successful Entrepreneurs. And from the article, it says, this trait is known by many names: perseverance, persistence, determination, commitment, resilience. But it's really just old-fashioned stick-to-itness. Or stick-to-itiveness. Tenacity is number 1, says Mike Caldwell, who runs Plains Angels, an Iowa angel investor forum, and the Accelerator Business Innovation Zone for the Greater Des Moines Partnership. So much of entrepreneurship is dealing with repeated failure. It happens many times each week. And then later on in the article, there's a quote that I just love, and it says, when failure happens, you have to start all over again. So a couple of things I loved in there. Tenacity is number 1, right? So 7 traits of successful entrepreneurs. Tenacity is number 1. Okay, great. And the idea that entrepreneurship is dealing with repeated failure. It happens many times each week. And this concept that when failure happens, you have to start all over again. This is not just for entrepreneurs. This is just life. How many people have you ever known and they had a relationship that was a legal marriage and they got divorced? And most people, there's some that's not a big deal. Maybe they weren't married that long. Maybe they were married a long time. They never really liked each other. Or they weren't really, negatively impacted when it broke up. But for many people, it's very, very devastating. And what they'll sometimes say is, it's like starting all over again, right? I got to start all over again. Like I had a marriage, I had this family, I had this spouse, I had it. Now it's all gone. And I literally have to start all over again. And for most people, that means you got to go back out, assuming that they hadn't already, found somebody else while they were married, and like start all over. Like you have to go back and like started like dating. You got to meet somebody. And the people who you talk to and they're still not in that really healthy place is because they think and they say to you like, that's a lot of work. I had all this. I was already in my content place. I had my family. I had my place. I was set. Now to go back and like do something, especially for people who haven't done this, in a long time. I've worked with clients when I used to do a lot of divorces at my law firm, and they'd say like, I haven't dated, in decades. Like to start all over again and be in that situation, it's just frightening. And I'm like, yeah, it is. But it's the same thing that somebody says who has faced, for any reason, so, health problems, business failure, divorce, financial issues or bankruptcy. You got to start all over again. You lose your job. You got to start all over again. Something horrible happens. There's an illness, and you took so much energy and time to combat the illness, and now you're getting out. You're healthier, but now you got to start all over again. You relocated. You got to start all over again. I mean, if you for the small group of entrepreneurs, they face it more every day, every week, because you're out there pushing it constantly. If you could say the same sentence, right? So much of sales is dealing with repeated failure, because I do sales training, and we've got some great programs on that. We have a really neat, one of our companion shows, our video, the companion to this, which is our half hour, which is me speaking on something, but it's a video show, so it's not just the audio. So the silent sales solution is what that program I'm referencing. But when I teach sales, that's why sales is so difficult for most people. Because it's constant failure. If sales consisted of all you have to do is like put on a nice, outfit, look whatever your version of a nice salesperson looks like, and then stand in a certain place, or speak in a certain way on the phone, or send a certain type of email, and then automatically you just get money, then everybody would be a salesperson. Like, it would be that easy. If all I had to do was sort of, I just do this, I type this, or I say this, or I wear this, and boom, they say yes, and then they buy whatever that product or service is, and then I make all this money, then everybody would go do it. I mean, that would be like, duh. And then you get a percentage, or you get a commission or a bonus based on how much you sell. If all you had to do was learn some sort of, magical or mystical thing to say or do or type, or then everybody would give you, their business, and you just sell, all the real estate or cars or, medical equipment things that you can imagine, then everybody would do it, and it would be the number one job. Everybody would have that job, because you're not based on time, you're based on the outcome. And technically, if you're proficient at it, you're going to make more money, because you're getting a cut of the sales dollar instead of just being paid based on how much time that you invested in something. But the reason so few people do it, and so few people do it well, is because it's hard. You don't just ask something or say something or type something or wear a certain outfit or stand in a certain place and magically people say yes. You're going to have to deal with failure. Failure in the context of, no, I don't want to buy this. No, thank you. That's why it's hard. It's the failure part. You can use the word rejection, you can use the word failure, you can use whatever word you want to. A lot of people like euphemisms, so that's fine. It doesn't really matter to me. The point is that you don't get a yes. You get a whole bunch of no's. And the no's are what makes most people, or let me be, again, the fear of a potential no is what prevents most people from even trying anything. Anything. Well, okay. So again, this idea, tenacity is number one, and that, it's dealing with repeated failure or repeated rejection, or whatever term you want to use. That's why it's so hard. But my argument is, when failure happens, you just start all over again. I believe it's accurate, but I also believe it's way beyond entrepreneurship or sales or management or pitching or anything. I think it's just life. And you could sit and talk again to somebody who's been divorced and haven't transitioned well to a new life, and they just get stuck on the past. Well, I used to be like this. I used to live in this place. Yeah, that's what you used to have. That's what your life used to be like. That's what you used to have. You don't have that anymore for whatever reason. And of course, sadly, when people, experience especially unexpected loss of, somebody dies, then, it used to be like this. It used to be like that. Yeah, it did. You gotta start all over again. It's so hard, especially when you're thinking like, golly, do I want to go back to literally square one and start dating? Not necessarily, but you're gonna have to find somebody. So I don't care what term you use or how you do it, but yeah, you're gonna have to start all over again. The comfort level and the stability of, I'm with somebody that I've known for a long time. I know what to expect. I know them. You're not in that position, because you're gonna have to go with people you don't know and you haven't known as long. And then that's starting all over again. And whether you start in a relationship, you start at a job, you start in a new industry, you start because you moved, you start because somebody passed away, or your business failed, or you were bankrupt, or whatever, it's irrelevant. But you got to start all over again. And starting all over again, if you would change the way you look at it, could be awesome, because it does give you a whole new chance. Not only do you get to learn about them, but you get to refine and enhance all the things about yourself. And maybe the last job or the last business or the last relationship or the last marriage weren't maybe as great as they could have been. Maybe you learned some painful lessons that you thought, I could do this better. So starting all over again should be a chance for you to really embrace like a better you. But a lot of people don't think like that, and they get so caught up on, I had to do it and I don't want to do it. Well, it's life though. There's nobody I can give you as an example where they've never had to be in a situation where they had to start all over again. I mean, it's just not, I've not known it. Even people who Very common. Many parts of the world now, when young people become adults, at some point they transition to their own place. They leave home, and whether they go to school or they get married or whatever, they move away and they leave their parents and any other extended family that they live with. And a lot of people, they call it the empty nest syndrome, right? And a lot of people get really the same type of thing. They get stuck on that. But it used to be different. It used to be here, and it's like, yeah, I know that, but they grew up. What you did when you were 8 years old with them is different because now they're 28. So yes, they have a different life, and they have different priorities and different needs. That change where you are in their life, not in terms of how they feel about you, but in priorities. So now if they have a full-time job or a full-time family, then it's not going to be the same as when they were a little child and lived with you. And people struggle with this, right? So yeah, starting all over again is not exclusive to any type of singular experience. It's just this is life. You live long enough, you're going to at some point in some way experience this. People who are business people in sales, in entrepreneurship, in management, in leadership, or you're just ambitious, then you face it more than other people, because in that realm you're not going to just sit in one level. You want to do other stuff, whether it's close new clients or get a promotion. So you're going to be out there. The more that you're changing, the more you're going to be risking more rejection. But that's just the nature of the beast. And again, divorce, then yeah, you're changing, but you're often, I never had a case as a lawyer doing a divorce where I thought that divorce was, a worse option than staying. It was usually the healthier option. And most people, happily, especially when I would, be in contact with former clients, it turned out really well. Like I said, it's a fresh start. It's a chance to start all over again and do things better on their part, and to be with people who are more compatible and make better decisions and communicate better. And it's usually a win-win. But some people are so frightened, right? They're so frightened of this imaginary horrible failure thing that they just never try. So they never apply for a new job, and they don't ever, try to get sales, and they never going to start a business, and they're never going to leave even a miserable relationship just because of these imaginary issues. And I don't mean that the failure is imaginary. The failure will be real. What I'm saying is that the imagined, I guess, devastation of that. Look, everybody who does this is rejected. That's just the nature of life. So the thing where you don't try because you're scared of the failure and rejection is not logical. The only way you're going to get the better job or the promotion is to interview, is to apply, is to let people know you're interested. That's the only way. And so you're only going to get a little of the things that you seek out in life, but that's all you need. If you're looking for, a spouse, traditional, you only need one. You don't need like 800 people to want to be your spouse. If you're looking for a promotion, you have a specific title or job that you're looking for, you're just looking for that one. Even with your customers in your business, you're not trying to sell every business to all people at all times. You're trying to sell like one business or one idea or whatever. So like, it's okay. You need to find a way. And one of the things that I'm arguing, and I've argued in this show, is that the tools that are necessary for you to achieve and surpass your goals are grit, hustle, and tenacity. They are necessary, because without these, then that's where you get people who are sort of immobilized by fear, because they don't have the grit, right? They're not mentally tough. They're not courageous. So they just sort of sit and then often, sadly, complain about their life. Oh, I can't believe my family. I can't believe my spouse. I can't believe where I live. I can't believe this the car I drive. I can't believe this is my clothes wardrobe. I can't believe this is how much money I make in my job. I can't believe my job. I can't believe it. I can't believe how horrible everything is. It's all horrible. Okay, look. I know it's scary. Life's scary. Again, I'm scared constantly. Most people I talk to are. I don't know anybody who's not scared. That would be somebody who's some sort of mental health problem, because if you think you're not scared of anything, then that's not at all healthy or normal medically, right? There are people who might have some sort of thing where they're like, I don't feel pain. I put my hand on a stove, it's not hot. And sometimes that's a medical condition, so not just mental, but also physical. Maybe they have something with their nerves or something. But you should be fearful, because that's just life. There's stuff you don't know it's going to happen all the time. Fear is it is. The thing is, let's put it in the context of a healthy life. And grit is a lot of it, right? I have to be courageous if I want to have something better. So is it necessary? Yes. Hustle. You want to get stuff done, right? So you say to somebody, "Hi, how can I help you?" Or you say to somebody, "Hi, how can I help you?" You're going to get different outcomes. And more likely than not, with the second one, you're going to get more good outcomes, which will help you achieve the promotion or the sales quota or whatever it is you're trying to, or the funding or whatever it is you're trying to do. Even socially, right? Socially, just saying to somebody, "Yeah, hi, I'm Courtney." Or saying to somebody, "Yeah, hi, I'm Courtney." Which of those is more likely to get me a new friend, right? When I move somewhere and I don't know anybody. Come on. Like, you need some energy there, okay? That's your hustle. And then your tenacity. It's where you're not going to just quit, right? Because, look, if it really is one of these things, like most things in life, if you're somebody and you say, "You know what, I really, really want to be," maybe somebody's divorced or they're a widow or a widower, and they say, "But I love being married. I really like being married. It's my thing. I'm gonna stay in that because I do well in that. I got somebody that I'm friends with and I love, and we get to do cool things. I love being married." If that's your decision, you're going to be married, then then that's the easy part. You made the decision. Now you got to do is find the person that's compatible with you and that you're compatible with. That's the easy part. If you know that you're going to sell, if you work at a car dealership or real estate or medical sales or whatever, you know that product is something that somebody wants to buy because they have a whole business built around it. It's not like it's the first thing that's ever been made like that. That would be slightly different if it was a completely brand new market and a totally brand new product or service. Well, then people have different expectations for sales because they'll be like, "Nobody's even sold this before." But if people already have an existing business and people are already buying that, then people do buy that product. The question is just going to be, how many are you going to sell? So you're not going to get in some unhealthy thing, "I'll never sell anything." That's not even realistic. You may not sell anything because when people come to the business or call or inquire, you would say to them, "How can I help you?" So they may think, "Ooh, I don't want to work with them." But they will buy that. They may just go buy it from another, place that sells it and not give you the sale. And it's the same thing in your personal life. If you know you're best in a marriage, then go out there and let people know that's what you're about, and be honest about what you can provide and what marriage means to you and what that means. And then absolutely it's going to happen. It's not anything, "Well, I'll never find anybody." Only if you never go out there and introduce yourself, right? And that's life. That's hustle. And then and it's tenacity. You're not going to just quit. If you quit, then you'll just be sitting around with the same thing you already have, which usually people are complaining about that to begin with. "I don't like this. I want more." Okay, well then let's do it. These things are necessary. They're not optional. You got to be courageous. You got to have some understanding of mental toughness that's healthy, right? You also have to understand the big picture, which is of course you're going to achieve the goal. Somebody's already been buying those cars. That's why that car dealership's open, right? So you will sell. How many you'll sell, what day, and who you'll sell it to, you don't know those details, but of course the end result's already done. Now, how can you do a better job of it? How can you engage people? How can you be a better listener? Those are the type of techniques I and many other people work with people on, right? You have to have grit. You have to have hustle. You will get, sometimes you're just in the right place at the right time where somebody comes in and they're going to buy something and, "Hi, how can I help you?" And just because they're like, "I don't care, I need this right now," they'll buy it. But it's not because of you, it's in spite of you. You have to have hustle. It's the same thing in your personal life. Again, I use the analogy. If somebody was, been in marriages and know it's the right thing for them, and they're going out meeting new people, and they say to people, "Yeah, hi, nice to meet you." Or they say to somebody, "Yeah, hi, nice to meet you." Okay, who am I interested in maybe having, a longer date with? Come on. Energetic, hustle, and the tenacity. You don't say logically, "Well, I tried, I did it, I went on a date once 5 years ago. I went on one job interview." No, you stick with it. Now, if you are sticking with it and you're getting just nothing positive, you have to start to ask yourself again the techniques you're using, right? So, are you listening to people well? What kind of conversations are you engaged in? Are you putting people at ease? You have to, that's where you move to that part. But if you've made the decision, then of course it's going to happen. It's just going to be a matter of figuring out what day and whom. It'll be your customer or be your new spouse. But you've got to commit to that. And it's something where you look, if you quit, then you're going to still not have whatever it is. And then by quitting and not even trying, then you definitely not have it. So why do that? So sometimes I talk to people who aren't, interested in entrepreneurship, which is the majority of people in the world, right? And they'll say, well, I don't care that some business person went 300 times for business. I don't want to be funded. I don't want to have a business. I just want to be successful in my own way. And I'm like, yes, I agree. We all want to be successful in our own ways. But just like you would think it's ridiculous to do 300 attempts for, funding for your business, somebody else would say it would be ridiculous to apply for 300 jobs, or it'd be ridiculous to go on, 300, dates. And the argument would be, no, it isn't. If that's what's important to you, and as you continue to go through that, you're not just doing the exact same thing over and over again. That's why I said you're refining and you're getting feedback. Well, what was it exactly about my request for funding, or what was it about, what do you think that I might have been doing, socially that would help people get, a little bit more comfortable? Or you're getting feedback, and it may not be from that person. Maybe they don't want to tell you why they didn't buy a car from you or why they didn't want to date you. But go out and read. There's so much good research out there, and there are things that will show you. Right? You can literally watch like videos of great sales techniques or great social techniques for meeting people socially, for friends or dating. You can see a lot of the things that people do. And then you can reassess yourself. Am I doing some of this? Is maybe some of this what's negatively impacting me? And you can refine what you're doing. But the key is that you're still doing. You have to keep doing. When you stop doing, that's the kind of, commitment to misery that we don't even really address in our programs, because we've all known those types of people. They're just wrapped in that cocoon of unhappiness, and all they're going to do is tell you about the past and how horrible everything is now. And then you'll say, well, why don't you try this? And I know what you mean. I did try. Okay. And then, but they're not trying. They're not doing because they're not tenacious. Right? You just need that one person that's the right spouse for you. You just need that one venture capitalist to get that first deal to get you going, to keep you moving. You just need that one promotion to keep him. That's all you're doing. So it may have been 1,200 attempts, and it was the 1,201st. Yay! But why not? The alternative to the thing about Tenacity that's so sad, you guarantee you're not going to get what you want when you quit. And then you just move to sheer random luck. Maybe I'll get struck by the lottery. Right? And maybe I'll be sitting by myself somewhere, and there come the ideal spouse for me. It could happen. Yeah, anything could happen. You could win the lottery. You could have the perfect person who wants to invest in your business just happen to walk by while you're sitting in your place sad by yourself. It could happen. But you've done nothing to make it happen. Right? You're just literally waiting on just random luck. Even if you try, by doing, you're not going to do 300. Maybe you're just going to do 3. And then you take a break and do another 3. Doesn't matter. Set your own pace, but at least you're in it. Remember, it's a marathon, not a sprint. You're in it. Just keep moving. When you stop moving, then you totally guarantee that you are doing nothing, and that you're guaranteed to fail, and then you're just sitting around waiting on random luck. And random luck does happen. The problem is it's random, and you have no control over it, and you just, maybe, but you're not doing anything. So go do stuff. You have grit. Take the link I have in the show to see what the University of Pennsylvania, and then all the other things I posted on Twitter and all those different types of things, the assessments, look and ask yourself, how energetic am I? If I don't want this, if I seem like I don't care about myself, then how are other people going to care about being my friend or dating me or buying my product or service or working with me or promoting me? If I don't seem to be energetic about me, I am me, then why would anybody else be? You're all, in that sense, you are selling yourself. Everybody is, in a healthy way, right? If I care and I'm excited, then other people are more likely to want to be around me, even if they don't even agree with me. They might think, I don't understand anything that lady says, or I think she's a total idiot, but she sure is fun and entertaining. She's got a lot of energy. So, you know what? It's true. There's a whole bunch of studies about this, right? Think back to when you were a little kid, the popular kids often, right? They drew people to them. What does that mean? What it means that they exhibited behavior that other people were, interested in or entertained by or something. But if you just are doing nothing, you have no energy in yourself, right? Hi, I'm Courtney. Well, yeah, probably they're not invested in my business, They don't want to date me or go to be my new friend. There's no energy. I don't seem to care about myself. Come on, that's what the hustle is. Got some energy. And then the tenacity. Now there we have done some other shows where some people get in an unhealthy place where they're not paying attention and they're literally not changing anything, just keep repeating the same thing. And because you're not changing and enhancing and modifying, then of course you're not increasing your chances of being better. Some people can do these things where they become very unhealthy, become like obsessions, and then it's not healthy. But we're excluding that type of situation here. We're talking about a healthy tenacity with, of course, ongoing feedback, modification. But what you can do literally right now, exactly who you are, with your skills, with your experience, with the whole totality of you, with some grit and some hustle and tenacity, you will astound yourself. Even on my saddest, most yucky days, there are a couple of things I can sit and think about, or just look at my real life and think to myself, wow, yeah, there is that's good. And what was that? Grit, hustle, and tenacity. My argument is it works. All these other resources I showed you is that it works. There are other sources that tell you it doesn't. What do you have to lose, though? So try it. It's free. It comes from you. It doesn't cost any money. And I think you'll be really shocked about how much your life will reflect your dreams by just adding these ingredients. I thank you so much for joining me and being part of the show today. Thank you.